Breathe.
Hello, and today I'm here with Helen Woodward. Hi, Helen. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Hi, Melanie.
Hi. So when I set up this channel, the rationale was to help people, teachers who wanted to leave teaching, by showing them teachers who had done it to show that it was achievable. But I also wanted to interview people who hadn't necessarily come from a teaching background, but who were delivering services that could help teachers in this journey. So we did that in episode 16 with Mark Crossfield, who's a career coach. And we did it in episode 21 with Helen Campbell around emotional skills training. So today, Helen is going to talk to us about how she helps teachers to find their path away from teaching. Generally, you work with senior leaders in teaching, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't work with people right through from
Absolutely
the chalk face up to, directors academy type level. So can you give us an outline of what your service, what your role actually is in the life of a teacher who wants or is exploring the idea of leaving teaching?
Sure, certainly. Thank you. And thanks for having me on, Melanie. It's lovely to be here. So mostly when people come to me around this, and I do a range of coaching and consultancy work, working with EdTech and working with public and private sector providers. But I'm quite passionate about this as well, because I see people unhappy and stuck. And one of the things I committed myself to do was to help people find freedom from the things that hold them back and freedom to live the lives they want. So with regards to school leaders, usually, as you've said, who are wanting to explore different avenues, I have two things on offer. I have what's called the Beyond Headship program. You don't have to have been a head teacher to come on it. All right. It's for, it applies, the same process applies to all sorts of people. So the Beyond Headship program is aimed at people who are school leaders and who have got to the point where they're going, actually, I want to find a different path now. I want to find a different path. It's a fully online program. We tried doing it kind of face-to-face and synchronized at first. And I had so much feedback with people going, oh, well, I can't come to that session because it's parents' evening and I can't come to them. So in the end, I said, right, we'll put it fully online. We'll reduce the price so it's fully online. There are 4 sessions for people to engage with on that basis. And then if you want, when you've worked through those processes, you can book in one-to-one coaching with me if you still want that. And people do. Some people actually do Beyond Headship and they go, cooking on gas, I'm great. Other people go, no, actually, I've worked through the process, but I'm still interested in having some one-to-one work and support with somebody who will help me find my way through this change. And it is change, it's transitions and change. They feel, they feel a bit sticky, but they're really important. There's loads of learning on the way and it can be done.
So how does this online course with the 4 sessions, how does that help? What does that cover?
Okay, so really it's a design thinking process. It's based around a design thinking process of discover, design, define and deliver. Okay, so we spend the first session looking at discovery, and that's about digging deep into what's going on for you now. Where are you in that picture? What's working? What's not working? What do you love? What don't you love? And also thinking about what are the things that, what are the things that fulfill you about your current role? Or what are things that when you were 21 and leaving university, you found fulfilling, but perhaps have rested dormant because you haven't kind of nurtured them over the years. So it's a big discovery process. And then we move on to defining. And that defining process is very much about not just what's possible, but actually what do I really want? What do I really want? And I say to people, don't treat this like a buffet. Don't kind of go, oh, I could be a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker. Because there are lots of things you could do, but that's not necessarily a helpful way to go about it. It's much more helpful to start digging into actually what would work and life ideally look like for me? What would work practically with my home life? What kind of money do I need to earn? What sort of flexibility do I want? Where do I want to go every day? Do I want to be indoors or outdoors? Do I want to travel or do I want to be at home? Actually start getting some of these things sorted out. And then we look at some of the Jim Collins work around what he calls the hedgehog concept. Um, and we start looking at, it's not good enough just to be passionate about something. You have to have a business model for it. You have to understand what your financial roadmap is and how you think you're going to earn a living. And we look at some work by Richard Boyatzis as well. So we're really clear about kind of helping people hone down and then look at actually how they're going to design their move from one to, how are you going to build that roadmap and that bridge? And then the last bit really is about sorting out, there's always, and teachers are really good at doing stuff, right? They're really good at doing stuff, at creating activity, getting involved. The question is, are you doing the right thing that is going to leverage the change that you seek? So it's not just about being frenetically active and busy. It's absolutely about the right actions that will help you make the right progress towards your goal. And all of that is about a structured thinking process rather than just, mulling it over. Sorry,
Yeah,
I think you
yeah.
asked me something. Go on.
How did you become aware that there was a need for this service for teachers?
I mean, just some of it was conversations with people who were in that position, who were saying, actually, do you know what? I'm 45. I'm on my third headship. I'm going to be working for another 20 years at least. Don't really want to do another headship after this one. But where do I go? So some of it was conversations with actual people like that. And in other instances, it was conversations with people who were business leaders who had people apply who were saying, do you know, Helen, there's lots of people out there who want to do what you've done. They want to make a shift from public sector work and education into a different career life. They just haven't found their path yet. They're just not sure how to do it.
So when you're working with teachers of whatever level, what transferable skills do you see that they've got that they haven't even sort of given themselves credit for, that they should be
Mm.
shouting about?
That's really interesting, actually. That's really interesting. So first of all, flag up, teachers have lots of transferable skills. Okay. Those skills are going to vary massively from person to person. Um, and controversially, I'm going to say that particular experiences don't necessarily generate particular skills. It's possible to have had responsibility for something and been awful at it.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. All
We've all
right,
had those line
brutal.
managers.
Yeah, brutal but fair, right? You can have responsibility for something, and actually, you're not very good at it. Other people know. So we can't make assumptions between experiences and the skills that we think people ought to have had in view of that. Um, and conversely, actually, we can be really skilled in something that we've never had the opportunity to shine in at work. So you might have a side hustle going on, you might have done voluntary work, you might have a degree in a particular area that means that you're highly skilled in something, but just not something you've had a chance to do at work. So it varies enormously. But pretty much all teachers have really good knowledge and understanding about human learning. Okay, so like everybody has a learning and development business as part of their business, however big or small that is. They understand how to help people build their capacity to learn. And this is going to be increasingly important for us. We're living in a world that is rapidly changing. I think it was Alvin Toffler who said, the illiterate of this century won't be people who can't read and write. They will be people who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. All right. So actually understanding human learning is really important. Teachers have their subject knowledge, don't underestimate it. It's fantastic. If you're a linguist or if you're a scientist, fantastic. Actually, there are roles for you out there. And they also have knowledge of things like event organizational skills, all the other things that happen that people just kind of go, yeah, well, it's just part of the day job. But actually that's a whole skill set that people just kind of, they kind of assume it's there. They kind of take it for granted, not in a bad way, but it's just like, well, yeah, of course I do that, because it's
Mm,
like run of the mill for you, you know.
mm. So I think you have generally been working with senior leaders who, in their organisations, are in positions of great power, and people look up to them,
Yeah.
largely will respect them, and so they themselves will perceive that they have a certain status. Do you see that being a block to them, thinking, well, I can't leave because if I do, I will lose status, I will be less than I am? Do you find that being a block, or are there other things that
Mm.
surprise you about their reactions to putting themselves in what I suppose essentially is a position of vulnerability when they come to you?
Hmm. That's a really interesting question. Um, and I think it depends what people move on to. And I know head teachers are quite powerful. All right, they don't always feel that they are, but they are actually quite powerful. So they can be very used to operating in a kind of particular way. And sometimes they need to learn how to operate differently in a different business or a corporate world. But then even if you're in the corporate world and you change bosses and you move companies, things can be very different, you know. So I think whatever move you make, you know, be prepared for that change. I think when you work in a large organization, the large organization often simultaneously kind of supports and oppresses us. You know, we're
Right.
kind of supported, but there's a bit of a squeeze as well. If you then go kind of solopreneur, and you decide that you're going to set up your own company, you can encounter a much more essential version of yourself. And, you know, sometimes head teachers are a bit, you know, well, I'm used to having somebody who, you know, is my PA and does my finance and all those sorts of things. And actually, if you start out on your own, you know, you do everything on your own, or you pay someone from your earnings to do that for you. And that, you know, that can be quite a challenging shift for people. Um, yeah. Have I answered your question, Melanie? I'm not sure I have, whether I've sidetracked.
Have you had to help them counter any blocks?
Oh, I mean, I think the main coaching work is about exactly that, you know.
Mm.
So, you know, people from all kinds of backgrounds seek coaching, usually because there is something in their life or their work. Please excuse me, I'm just going to have a quick drink.
Mm-hmm. Fine.
There is something in their life or their work which is causing them discomfort. You know, something's not working in the way they want it to. And coaching is all about helping the coachee generate clarity about exactly what that is, how they're seeing the world, how the world is showing up for them, if you like, working out exactly what's causing the rub, um, and exactly what kinds of changes you're prepared to make. So you know, often I'd say the major blocks to people moving from a job they perhaps once loved but no longer serves them, you know, no longer fulfills them, often the blocks are of our own making. Okay, they are often of our, you know, and those can be stories that we tell ourselves about not being skilled enough, not being good enough. It can be about huge disappointment. You know, people don't start out at 22 thinking, oh yeah, I'll be a head teacher, and then at 45 I'll have a complete career change. You know, people don't often think, and why would you? You know, why would you? So some people can find it hugely disappointing that they've got to a stage in their life where they go, actually, I thought I loved this and I don't any longer. And that can be a massive identity shift as well for somebody to have to kind of almost, you know, fess up to their friends and family. Actually, I used to love it and now I don't.
Yeah.
And I need to make a shift. It can also be that people are almost living in the assessments other people have made of them. You know, so people go, but yeah, but you know, you're a teacher, you're a head teacher, what else can you do? And people will almost kind of take that on as if it is some kind of, you know, truth.
Yeah.
that other people don't think, other people see them as a teacher, don't think they can do anything else. So that must be it. So very often people kind of carry ideas about not being prepared to put their own time and money into reskilling or retraining. Almost kind of wanting, sometimes I have people say, well, I want to keep the same money, I just don't want the stress. It's like, right. Okay, so I mean, that's, and sometimes these ideas can really hold us back. They can really hold us back. So there's a question when you're working with a coach sometimes, or for me working with a coachee, about what's really important that people want to preserve, what do they really treasure and value, and where are the changes possible for them, what do they see as open to change. That can be really interesting.
Yeah. I think for me, if I had my journey again, I would have invested more in what I was financially invested more in what I was moving while I still had a salary.
Got it. Yeah.
Because once you have handed in your notice and it's just you sitting there staring at a computer with no clients, you're not going to start spending money on those things. So I think, yeah, when you're making the decisions about what you're going to do, then is the time, while you have still got that salary behind you, to do it then, because it doesn't seem as bad when you know there's going to be a paycheck this month to invest, 1, 2, 3, 4,000 in what it is that you really would serve you well to be able to move on. So it is a false economy to think, if your car breaks down, you spend money on it, don't you? People just think, well, it's the car, I need a car. You're as important as your car, surely.
Absolutely. And I like the analogy, really. And yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it's, if you've even got an inkling that you might want to change, but you're going, oh no, but it's 2 years down the line, so I don't need to do anything yet. My advice would be, if you know it's 2 years down the line, start now.
Start now. Yeah.
Start thinking about it, start preparing for it. I dish out advice only rarely, to be honest, because it's not really a very coaching thing to do.
No.
But actually, one small thing every day or every week, one small thing that is another step on your journey, will be so valuable to you 2 years later. And absolutely expect to invest in your own professional development. Yeah, absolutely.
So with all the teachers that you've worked with, what professions, jobs, sectors, or whatever have you seen them move into?
So I see quite a few people doing consultancy work, and that can be a whole range of things, from management and leadership to initial teacher training support to organizational development to subject leadership to safeguarding. So I see lots of people kind of setting up small consultancy businesses. I see some people moving into edtech, and I do a day a week for Zen Educate, high growth edtech startup. And help them with a whole range of things, from education technical knowledge through to their safeguarding training, and sometimes some staff development things, leadership development, that kind of thing. So I see people learning to code, going to coding boot camp and making a shift into being a software engineer, which is great. I've seen people set up kind of small businesses, go into authorship, writing books. I met 2 teachers recently, actually, who'd set up a bookshop in South Yorkshire, in a kind of town, a thriving town, but they're set up and running a bookshop. So I see people doing, all kinds of things. I see some people moving into research and academia, and I do think the questions are, what fulfills you? What could you turn into an income? And yeah, what's important to you to keep the same, on what's up for discussion about where you'd bring flexibility. Yeah, and have a financial runway. Whatever you're deciding to do, But whatever your financial runway is, absolutely understand it and know it so that you can work to that.
Yeah. Okay. Have you got anything else that I have not asked you about, but that you think would be very relevant to people watching this?
I'm just having a think. I think, you know, if I was kind of talking with somebody who was saying, talk me through, like, I know that in 2 years' time, I want to do this. Where do I start? Talk with people, talk with the people that you feel you can talk with. I realize it's sensitive, but, you know, talk with people, give yourself some proper thinking time, and have a look at the Beyond Headship program. You know, it's great value. It's £125 because it's online, and it will provide you with a structured thinking process to guide your thoughts, so that you can kind of gather them together in a way that helps you build your roadmap. So rather than just kind of chunnering on it, which can be really time consuming and really unproductive, you know, book on the program, use the materials, start to think in a structured way, and be absolutely open to upskilling or reskilling, and investing in that. And if you've got something like a side hustle going on, or a voluntary piece of work that you do, that you feel you can, I understand teaching is very busy, but if you've got something that you can be working away on, and lots of people do this, that will enable you to kind of start building that bridge before you kind of jump off. That's a really good way to do it. You know, if you can start to build that. I think the other thing I'd say, often, I don't want to diss teachers, but not many teachers are good at writing CVs.
Oh, you know, a friend the other day said to me, "Oh, can you help me with my CV?" I said, "I haven't written a CV for 30 years. I have
Yeah,
no idea."
yeah. So then often they just haven't been used to a working world where CVs are actually a thing. A lot of school recruitment processes are a bit archaic. All right. They're a bit behind the times. You
Okay.
know, people spend extraordinary amounts of time writing job applications and preparing presentations. Most of the rest of the world don't recruit like this. You know, I know it's shocking news, but most of the rest of the world do not recruit like this. They want to see a CV, and they'll start filtering out with CVs and then a first interview. And they'll filter out very quickly on informal first interviews. Okay. So get your CV in order. And if you don't know how to do that, get help with it, get professional help with it. And somebody who's good will talk with you for a few hours, and then we'll draft something, and together you'll look at it, and you might get, you know, understand when you pay how many drafts you get. But get someone who's professional to help you draft your CV. Your CV shouldn't be any longer than 2 sides of A4. And it shouldn't be like Jackanory, you know, in 1978, I first qualified as a teacher. It shouldn't be like that. Okay. It should be absolutely based around responsibilities, achievements, and impact. All right. Because that's what people are looking for. And, you know, somebody who's good at doing that will help you draw all that out. And that can be a great place to start, actually. And write it, or get them to write it with you, so it is focused on where you're going. So you big up the skills that are absolutely relevant to where you're going. And think about your LinkedIn profile as well, because people do look to LinkedIn for reassurance. And if your social media needs tidying up, which it shouldn't if you're a teacher, but if it does, do it now.
Yeah, before the archaeologists get to work on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe I
absolutely.
need to interview a CV writer. Maybe that would be a useful interview to do for here.
I think that could be really, and actually a good CV writer would be able to show you a kind of before and after, you
Mm,
know, which could be really good as well. But just kind of that would be a great idea, actually, Melanie.
mm.
Yeah, really good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, watch this space, people. Oh, I know a few on LinkedIn, so I shall sound them out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really, with the difference it makes, to your kind of written presentation of your story. And
Mm,
language isn't neutral, you know, language doesn't just describe reality, it creates reality.
Yeah. Oh,
interviews. We
yeah.
actually create the perception of what we can do and what's possible. Yeah.
Right. I think that's given people loads of things to think about. Really interesting, Helen. Thank you very, very much for giving us your time today. And we'll drop all your links to your course, your website, your profiles, and anything else in the notes underneath the video.
Lovely.
Okay.
You know, DMs are open, so if anybody's got any questions, you can DM me on LinkedIn. It's always good to hear from people.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Melanie. It's lovely to see you. Take care.